Yo, what's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be talking about the Eagles for the 2020 season in our Buster Boom series. You enjoy sports content, so I think he has everything he needs around him this year. The Bay Buccaneers, Ali Marpet.
I'm doing well.
Someone that knows the game pretty well.
Drafted third overall by the Boston Celtics.
Yo, hey guys, welcome back to another podcast from the Sports Scoop. We are continuing our Buster Boom series with the Philadelphia Eagles. If you guys haven't, this is our Buster Boom series where we predict and analyze each team for the 2020 NFL season. We talk about key players, offseason, and what we think their overall record will be in 2020. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, make sure to keep watching. All right, guys, the Philadelphia Eagles, me and Charlie's team rivals as we are Giants fans. But we're going to still not be biased, and we're going to give you flat out what we think about this team. Let's get straight into it with key players. So, obviously, number one, injury-prone Carson Wentz. I'm going to be honest. I think I don't really like Carson Wentz. And, oh, my God, why are you so biased? No, listen. Carson Wentz is a good quarterback, and he's been a good quarterback, but his injuries are just so prevalent every year. And he's always getting injured. So I think Carson Wentz, if he stays healthy, obviously he's a really good franchise quarterback for this Eagles team, and he gives them wins. And he has the weapons to produce a good team. But he's just injuries are so, are all the time. He's always injured. So for this year, I think Carson Wentz, it's not – if he's healthy, the Eagles do well. If he's not, the Eagles don't do well.
Right, Carson Wentz. I don't completely agree with you. I don't completely disagree, though. So I don't dislike Wentz as a quarterback. However, I don't think he's the greatest. Again, I'm sort of in the middle about him. Just his injuries are so – they're the headline for the Eagles season. And this year, they don't have Nick Foles, so Wentz can't afford to get injured. He's not necessarily provided by the best weapons on offense. He does have Ertz at tight end, who is probably one of the top three tight ends in the league, along with probably Kelsey and George Kittle. But the receiving core is not super strong with Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, both older. So I think it's really going to depend on Wentz to make a playoff push, and I think they could get it if he stays healthy. But another key player on that offensive end, Miles Sanders, second-year running back out of Penn State. The Eagles got rid of Jordan Howard in the offseason to, I think, the Dolphins, right? And now Miles Sanders is the number one back. Second year, that's a lot of responsibility, and I think they'll probably be running the ball a decent amount with their lackluster receiving core. So I think Sanders could have a breakout year and go over 1,000 yards, maybe 1,100. So I think he could have a really good year. What do you think?
Yeah, I love Miles Sanders. I think he's a really good running back, obviously coming out of the same college as Saquon Barkley. And I think he, has proven himself. He had some really, really good runs against the Bills last season. He was a really, really good not only fantasy player, but also just a really solid running back last year for the Eagles. And he came in not being a starter, obviously having having other running backs, the Eagles having other running backs. So I think this is the year for Miles Sanders. I think this is a really good year. This year and the year after, I think, are going to be two breakout seasons for Miles Sanders to prove he's a really good running back. And obviously, he was one of the better rookies last year. So I really like Miles Sanders here just because of the versatility he has to receive and just go for big gains. Now to our next player, we have Zach Ertz, top three tight end in the league. And there's not much to say about him. He's a really good tight end. He catches balls, gets touchdowns, and has proven really so much why he's a good tight end. I like him so much just because of, his production rate, and he's not injured too often. And then also Dallas Goedert, their other tight end. I know he's like a backup, but they have two really good tight ends there for Carson Wentz to throw the ball to. So Zach Ertz, I think another good year if he's not injured. Another solid top three tight end year for him. But Charlie, what do you think?
Ertz, yeah, for sure. I think he's got really solid hands, probably one of the best hands in the league. He's quick. He can get himself open. I think 2 seasons ago, he had like a fully breakout year where he broke a few records. for tight end like receptions for the Eagles or something. But I think he could very well have another 1,000-yard year, maybe 900, 800 yards. Still really good considering he's a tight end. I think he'll be a big factor, not as big as Carson Wentz, but a very big factor in the Eagles' season this year. Defensively, Fletcher Cox, one of the best D tackles in the league, if not the best in my opinion, unless you regard maybe Aaron Donald as a tackle. He's great. He's, I think, 25 years old, still 26 years old, so he's young. He's amazing. He's a force to be reckoned with at tackle. He gets to the quarterback very, very often, and he's just a huge part of their defense. I'm not sure how injury-prone he is, but I don't think he's very injury-prone, so I think that's a big name to look out for on this Eagles defense.
Yeah, for sure. Last year, not too well sacks-wise, 3.5 sacks. 40 tackles in 2018 with 10.5. So that's, a pretty astronomical difference. But yeah, Fletcher Cox is just such a disruptive defensive tackle. Like Chris Jones, those top defensive tackles, and Aaron Donald, just so disruptive, and he's such a big player. He's so good. This is why he's an X factor in Madden. Like he's such a good. He's just a really good defensive tackle. He gets sacks. He disrupts. He stops runs, and he's just a force in the middle of that defensive line. So I think, Fletcher Cox, obviously not too injury prone, if I'm not wrong. So I think, again, next year, another good standout top defensive tackle year for him. And, he's just such a force. And he's such a, big guy. Like you gotta put two men on him there when he blocks. Pause, that's sus. Now to our next section where we have offseason. Obviously, free agency, one of the bigger free agent signings in Darius Slay. Really, really good cornerback from the Lions. A couple years ago led the league in interceptions, and I love Darius Slay. I think he's a really good lockdown corner. He's that number one corner the Eagles have needed for 2 years, for so long. Getting into the playoffs, and they really noticed we don't have any corners that are top tier level. So I think he's just going to fill that role perfectly. He's going to start in that number one position. He's obviously experienced, not veteran, I could say, but, not a rookie-type corner. So I like Darius Slay. I think he's going to be there, and he's going to lock down corners and just, secure that secondary for the Eagles. But, yeah.
I think this was one of the biggest off-season moves. The Eagles got one of the better cornerbacks in the league in Darius Slay and only got rid of a third and a fifth-round pick. He's only 29 years old. This is one of the biggest moves, probably disregarding like the DeAndre Hopkins trade and maybe a few others. But I really like Darius Slay, and he gives them real potential to make it really far this season, because the year that the Eagles won a Super Bowl, I think their top cornerback was Jalen Mills. And Darius Slay, that's a huge improvement over Jalen Mills. I'm not hating on Jalen Mills here, but he's not a number one cornerback. He fits much better at the number two role, maybe even a slot. Speaking of slot corners, they also signed Nickel Roby-Coleman in the offseason from the Rams. In my opinion, one of the best slot corners in the league. And I think a lot of people just remember him from the really nasty hit in that NFC Championship game against the Saints. But there's a lot more to him. He's a decently young corner who's got a lot of potential at that slot. He's fast. He's a lot to get the ball away from. And the combo of Slay and Coleman, you got to, with one of them on either side of the field or one of them in the slot, it's going to be a hard defense to throw the ball against. So I think that's going to be a really tough defense to play against.
Oh, yeah, no, I completely agree. I think Nickel Roby-Coleman is a very, very, very underrated corner. And even before, that Saints hit, I really like Nickel Roby-Coleman. And he was so, overlooked just because when the Rams had, that stacked secondary with Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters, no one was really looking at Nickel Roby-Coleman. But he's really good.
Yeah.
He's a solid slot corner who is one of the better ones in the league, matching up with Darius Slay. Like, they really just rebuilt that secondary and really are reinforcing a no-pass zone there. So I love that signing. I think those are two, obviously Darius Slay trade, who I said free agency. Sorry. I meant to say trade.
Fine.
And the Nickel Roby-Coleman signing, I think it's two really good cornerback signings. two underrated players who are gonna stand out next year. But now to their loss in free agency, where they lost their veteran safety Malcolm Jenkins, who I really liked. I think he was the captain in that defense. He was manhandled that defense. But he is getting older. He went to the Saints. So I don't think it's the worst loss. I mean, obviously, not too many other safeties there, but I think with the two signings of these other two cornerbacks, I think that loss is not too harsh for next season. So Malcolm Jenkins obviously has been there for so long. He's been an Eagle for a long time, so I'm sure they're going to miss him. But I think it was time to move on.
I actually have to disagree with you on this one. I think Malcolm Jenkins is a really, really big loss for the Eagles. They've had him for quite a while, and although he's 32 years old, he was, for quite a while, their best defensive player. And to lose him, it takes a big hit to their defense. He was their defensive leader. And I just don't think I think it's an overwhelming loss. And now I think the safeties that they have right now are like Rodney McLeod and Sidney Jones are some of the top safeties. And then if you want Avonte Maddox at safety, corner, either way. So I think they have decent enough depth at safety, but Malcolm Jenkins was their number one defensive. They were their number one secondary player. So I just think that's a very, very big loss for them. And I think overall their offseason kind of underwhelming. They did get Slay and Roby Coleman, but after losing both Jenkins, and they didn't focus at all on their linebacking core, where they could have gotten maybe Joe Schobert, I think that was just a very big deal. So I don't think their offseason was too great. What do you think about the draft?
I think, some Eagles fans are going to be mad with their draft. I think Jalen Reagor, if you guys haven't seen, we made a draft video. Jalen Reagor is a good receiver, but I think there was better ones there. I think Justin Jefferson would have been a better pick. And I know, Alshon Jeffrey's that kind of tall receiver is going to go up and catch the ball, and so is Justin Jefferson. So they were looking for a receiver who's fast and can burn corners. So for the Eagles, it's not a bad pick, but I feel like there were better receivers that they could have taken there. And then obviously one of the biggest upsets, I guess you could say, in the draft, drafting Jalen Hurts. And I don't hate this pick. I don't. I honestly don't. It's the same thing as a Jordan Love pick. Both of these teams had two established quarterbacks who have been there for a while, and you're thinking, oh, they're drafting these quarterbacks. It's just going to hurt the morale of the team and their veteran quarterbacks. But Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. He's an underrated quarterback. He went late, and he went to an Eagles team that is in need of a quarterback when Carson Wentz is injured. They traded Nick Foles last year, so I think Jalen Hurts is the future of that team, just as Jordan Love is the future of the Packers. So I think it's a good pick. And it's not like they wasted a first or second round pick on him. They took him later. So Jalen Hurts is a good pick here. And so what do you think about those two picks?
I don't like what they did here. Just personally, Jalen Reagor is a good receiver. He's also a converted punt returner, kick returner. He's really agile and elusive. So I don't think that that's a terrible pick, but by taking him as high as they did take him, there were still, as you mentioned, Justin Jefferson was on the board, and so was Brandon Ayuk, who I don't know. I think he's very similar, in terms of talent to Jalen Reagor, but I think Justin Jefferson was still on the board, so I don't know about that pick. However, I don't like what they did in the second round with Jalen Hurts. They drafted Jalen Hurts, I think, mainly as insurance for injury-prone Carson Wentz. However, A.J. Epineza was taking the next pick. How can you pass up on that when all you're taking is Jalen Hurts? I don't hate Jalen Hurts, but I do think that if they were going to draft a quarterback, why would they take – first of all, I think why would they take Jalen Hurts? And second of all, why take him so early? If Jalen Hurts was still there in the fourth round, be my guest, take Jalen Hurts. But I think Jalen Hurts is also an injury-prone quarterback. He was hurt, I think his junior year when Alabama ended up winning under Tua. Got hurt in the finals, the championship. why are you drafting insurance? Why are you drafting an injury-prone player as insurance for another injury-prone player? So I think they probably could have waited and taken either Jake Fromm, Jacob Eason in a later round. So I don't love their draft. So all in all, the offseason, not great for me. So how do you think, sizing up record-wise this year, do you think they can win the division? Do you think they can make the playoffs? What do you think?
I think they could make the playoffs, and I think they most likely will. But I think a fair record for this team, I have them as 8-8. I think it's probably because the division they're in sucks. Besides the Cowboys, is probably playoffs. But I think it's not going to be too high. So I think 8-8 is fair. But Charlie, what about you?
All right, so I think the Eagles. I'm just gonna say it this way. I think the Eagles are gonna be 9 wins, and I think that'll be enough to give them maybe 6-7 seed in the NFC. I think they'll really be competing for those 6, 7, 8 seeds. They could drop out 8, 9. I think their top competition, the Cardinals, Bears, and Bucks. Just personally, I think that's who they're fighting against for that 6 and 7 spot. Because I think the top 4 division winners, of course, and then that 5 seed will be either the Seahawks or the Niners, whoever does not win the division. So those other 3 teams, they'll be fighting with them. And all of this is hypothetical. This is all assuming that Wentz does not get hurt. If Wentz gets hurt, they could win as little as like 5 games, and that's not very good. But I think if Wentz stays healthy, they could win 9 games and make the playoffs. I have them in the playoffs.
Yeah. That's it for our video. Thank you guys so much if you made it to the end. Make sure, as always, to subscribe if you haven't liked the video, and drop a comment. What do you think about the Eagles? Are you an Eagles fan? Hopefully you didn't take what we said too harshly. But thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be coming out with more of this Buster Boom series. Let us know if you like it, because we do. So thank you guys so much for watching.